What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? And welcome to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, along with my cousin, the coach, Lance C. Irvin. How you doing, cuz?
Woo! Great day, cuz. But time out. Is that a U of I hoodie you have on?
It is not a U of I hoodie, but it does have their colors, and it says Illinois on the top, so that counts.
Oh, my goodness. Did Marcus Liberty send you that? Kenny Norman.
None of them did.
Kenny Norman.
This is actually advertising. This is actually advertising Illinois volleyball.
Camino Bell didn't send you that? Volleyball?
Nobody sent me this. I'm just supporting
Derek Harper?
volleyball. I'm supporting volleyball in the state of Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Everyone knows I'm a volleyball referee and I'm missing the sports. So I said, hey, I got a U of I alum coming on the show. Their colors are orange. I miss volleyball, and that was what went into my decision.
You know what? I thought you was wearing that because your little cousin played volleyball. That's what I thought. But you know, I mean,
you are representing my little cousin today. Is that correct?
Hey, Hampton. That's Hampton, sir. HBCU was a great day today for HBCU. If you're HBCU football fan, I'm gonna let you say it. I'm not gonna say it yet, but it was a great day. But you know what? I like your colors. All you needed was a little brown, you know, orange and brown for the Jaguars in Junior high school. PLJ. You know, I know you wish you would have went to PLJ. Maya wish he would have went to PLJ. No. But one of our guests went to PLJ. So
he did, and he was outstanding at PLJ too. And he's gonna be coming up. What's up, Bernard? How you doing, man?
What's up?
We got a great show. We got a great show coming for you this evening. But before we do that, first of all, thank you for tuning in. We are doing this show in conjunction with the Chicago Crusader Newspaper, the oldest weekly African-American newspaper in the city of Chicago. And we thank Dorothy Lavelle and everyone over there at the Crusader for doing this partnership with us. It's been beneficial to both parties going forward here. And one of the things we do with them is our weekly poll question. And Lance, we have results from last week's poll question. Do you want to see them?
Yeah, let me see him.
All right. So last week's poll question was, after the Bears' victory over the Lions on Sunday, what is your prediction for them this season? And here are our results. On top, they will be a playoff team this year because they'll be good. And I think that is what you voted.
That was my vote.
So Lance gets up there. There was a tie for second place between average team won't make the playoffs and a bad team trying to rebuild. Those tied, they got 29%, and 13% said they're going to the Super Bowl. They'll be an excellent team. Based off of yesterday's barely win, would you like to revote? This is Chicago, so you know you can't vote many times.
You know, I'm gonna act like I'm a politician these days and change my vote. But before I change my vote, I sent you a text yesterday too. I sent you a text while I was watching the game. I said, cuz, what's wrong with my Bears? And you specifically told me, I'm going to wait until we get on the show. I was thoroughly disgusted about what I saw the second half, and you wouldn't go back and forth with me. So I don't know if it's time on the show to talk about how my Bears looked, but whoo, I'm going to take the win. Like most coaches would take the win.
Yeah, you take the win, but you got to expect more from them. I mean, the Giants didn't even have their best player, for Christ's sake.
They was missing several players. Shepard, I mean, Saquon Barkley, I wish him the best.
Yeah, we do. He's done for the season, but yeah, that's a tough loss, yeah.
He's done, but Jay, like, I'm not putting all the blame on Mitch. I'm not. But, Jay, why was the second half so bad? Like, that was bad. Bad.
The Bears are bad. You guys laughed at me last week when I said they're a bad team and it's time to rebuild. You all laughed at me. People were texting me, Jason, they're not that awful. It was the first game of the season. Okay. Now here's the second game of the season against a team that's worser. I'm going to use that word, worse than the team you barely beat in week one. You see, they are who they are, man. You always told me you are what your record is. In this case, you're not what your record is. It's Bears are 2-0.
I'm just sitting there, Jay, like the wide receiving core.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure that out. I mean, it's Miller, the number one receiver from the running back core. Montgomery got hurt. Cohen, Patterson back there. I think. I mean, it's a lot of questions, and I think Mitch is just Mitch to me, Jay. I mean, good Mitch, bad Mitch, inconsistent. I mean, I'm hoping he's going to get better because we have a lot of games left. But it's tough. I thought the offensive line was better, Jay.
I think the offensive line is the best unit on this team, what I've seen so far. And I would have not said that at the beginning of the season. But I think the running game is really going well on them. I think the pass protection for Mitch has been very good, which is a further indictment on him because people were saying, before, well, he don't have no time. Well, he's getting plenty of time now. I got issues with the Bears, and I'm going to get into them a little bit more. We got some more topics we're going to go through here, but definitely, what can I say? They are the Bears. So that was the result of last week's poll question. We do have a new poll question for this week. We're going to go ahead and fire that up so that everyone knows what we got coming up on our next poll question. And that one is, who is currently the best Black female tennis player? Now, we're talking currently, not, over a period of time, but in present 2020, who is currently the best Black female tennis player? Is it A, Sloane Stephens, B, Madison Keys, C, Naomi Osaka, D, Serena Williams?
You know what? I like all the young ladies on the poll. I really do. I really do. It's hard for me to go against Sloane and Serena, Madison Keys, but that Naomi Osaka, she is the real deal. From her quickness, her lateral movement side to side, her swing, her stroke. I mean, she's a tough out for anybody. I love the way she plays. She plays with energy. She plays with passion. I mean, and that serve, Jay, she was serving the balls. I think like a 1-9, 110. It was crazy. So, I mean, it's tough for me. Why y'all put those four up there? Y'all making it tough for me. But I have to take C.
You gonna take C. All right. So for me, Sloane Stephens is she's good, but she's still inconsistent. Madison Keys hadn't been able to win a big one yet. Talented, but she still hasn't been able to win a big tournament, really, in my eyes. Naomi Osaka is the truth, and she just keeps getting better. Serena Williams, she's the GOAT, man. She's a GOAT. So, I'm kind of afraid not to say Serena. Serena is the greatest of all time. And what I'm thinking currently, so I'm trying to think this 2020 season, it's hard for me to go against Serena. I'm just scared to do it, so I'm saying Serena. I'm going with D.
You taking Serena after Naomi just won the tournament last week?
I do. Well, we're going to see because right now they're over in Italy. Clay court season has just started. So we'll see who comes and wins this French Open. And Serena has always been tough on clay. I think Serena has an all-around game. She can play on hard surface, grass, clay. She can play on all the surfaces. So I think that's what makes her, in my opinion, still the greatest until someone can really knock her out, all that stuff. But we'll see. I may have a different opinion after the French Open when it starts next week. But right now, I'm going to go with Serena. I ain't going against that sister. She got fire in her.
She was hitting the ball so hard and just hitting them so hard. She was scaring me the way she was yelling when she was hitting the balls last week.
Right,
that's tough. That's tough.
So once again, if you're watching us, whether you're watching us on YouTube, if you are watching us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, please. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, we appreciate that. But we also want you to watch us on the app. The app has got so much great sports information on it. You can listen to us. You can watch us live on the app. To download the app, don't forget, you can always go to iTunes Store to download the app. You can get it off of Google Play Store or you can get it on the Amazon Store. So don't forget, download that app, SportsZone Chicago. You can check out all of our shows. The Humidor guys on Saturdays, they're hilarious. They're on there. One of our first guests, Jamar Harp, he's got a new show that's on the app. We're going to talk about that a little bit more when he comes on at 6:30. So, lots and lots of good stuff there on the app. But if you're watching this live tonight, go ahead, send us your questions, send us your comments. Bernard has already chimed in. We're getting some comments already. Glenn Nielsen, my refereeing buddy. What's up, Glenn? How are you? And I'm missing him right now. We usually work a lot of volleyball matches together, but we got a lot of good stuff on the app. So a lot of good stuff on the shows as well. So, Bernard saying Serena's body of work is hard to look away from. I agree. I'm gonna try to stick with just current 2020, Bernard, but I agree with you. You can't ignore her body of work. So I will still pick Serena, but you all will have that poll question up for you very shortly on the Crusader website. Make sure you go ahead and check it out. Also, tonight, before I bring on Joseph, he's going to jump on a minute. Tell you who we got on the show. So as previously mentioned, I got Jamar Hart. He's going to come on. He's going to talk about the big news of the day for HBCUs. Deion Primetime Sanders has been named head coach of the Jackson State football team. Jackson State, home of Walter Payton and many other great NFL players. They got primetime to be their head coach. Lance, just what are your quick thoughts on that?
Quick thought, I think it's an excellent hire. I watched primetime coach in the high school game 2 weeks ago with his son, and I think he's a very knowledgeable player. He was a very knowledgeable player, rather, and I think he'd make a really good coach. I mean, give him a shot. Give him a shot. Smart guy. I'm wishing primetime well. One thing I know, did you see how they bought him in today at Jackson State, Jay?
Hey, man, you know how black school is.
Woo! Primetime came in style. Band, trumpet, dancing, young ladies, majorettes, pom-poms, cheerleaders, big Cadillac SUVs rolling around. They did it right for prime time. They went short step.
And I'm very happy to see that. Again, we've said it before. We want to see the HBCUs raise their profile in sports. We send a lot of kids to a lot of institutions that don't necessarily have the best interests of our community at heart, and don't treat our athletes the way we feel they should be treated. And, I'd love to see more of our premier athletes starting to go to these HBCUs so that they can bring more revenue to those important institutions. And I think it's going to make sports better as well on the D1 level when they start getting those top athletes in football and basketball. So I'm very happy to kind of see about that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that later with Jamar Harp. He's going to come on at 6:30 talk about that. Then our second guest tonight, come on at 7 o'clock, the other big news of the day. Big Ten football is back. The Big Ten is going to start playing games. I believe October 24th.
October 24th is the day.
And we got one of your boys, one of your alums, also an alum of the University of Illinois. He's currently a sports analyst for the Big Ten Network. Howard Griffith is coming on the show at 7 o'clock.
Can't wait for Howard. I have some questions to ask Howard. Plus, his son plays football too. His son plays. So I can't wait to ask him about that from a parent point of view. How does he feel with his son playing during these times?
Right. So 7 o'clock, we're going to have Howard on. He's a good friend of the family as well. We're going to talk to him. So I'm looking forward to both of those conversations. But it is almost 6:15. So you know what that means. It's time for us to bring on our boy. He is the sports editor of the Chicago Crusader Newspaper. They are our partner in this endeavor. We're going to bring him on. He's an alleged Cubs fan, but the Cubs have got no favors this weekend. Joseph Phillips, man, what's wrong with your team?
What's up, Joe?
What's up, cuz?
How are you, cuz?
What's up, y'all? Man, we showed y'all some love on Friday. We won one game, okay? After that was all we could do because they mad at y'all. The Twins, y'all got the Twins mad at y'all. Y'all came back just gangster the division. They looking at y'all like, who are these young pups? Y'all been smashing the ball out the park. They looking at y'all like, hold on, shorty. Hold on. So, at the end of the day, they took out their anger on us. They thought we was the White Sox.
I was so glad the Cubs this weekend, especially after last weekend, I came on and said I'm not going to pull against y'all, because I'm trying to get this Cubs White Sox World Series. And look how y'all do me, man.
What'd you say? I can't hear you, Jay.
I mentioned last week on the show I'm not going to pull against y'all.
Right.
I want to see the Cubs White Sox World Series. So, I offered y'all a peace offering, an olive branch. And then you come out here and lose to the team that I need you to beat.
See, the message is you got to be all in, man. You got to be all in. You can't have 1 foot out there, 1 foot in. You got to be all in, baby. Win or lose. We going there. We going to see y'all there, man. We just got to handle our business first. Like right now, we're kind of a little nervous because we saw that you guys clinched the playoff berth. So the Cubs are kind of like, chopping at the bit a little bit where they're trying to do too much. with the at-bats. And, Minnesota, they battling for the division. They still in it. They're 2 games back. And then you got the Cincinnati Reds. They're hot. They're moving up the ladder, as we predicted. So they the Cubs are supposed to be in first place. We should be in first place. So it's a whole bunch of oxymorons going on in catch-22. So we get to overcome these things.
Well, Joseph, before we let you talk about what you got going on in the Chicago Crusader, fellas, do you guys know what today is? Lance, do you know what today is?
No, what is it?
Joseph, it's what?
It's September 21st.
And who is this man who is behind me today, Lance?
I can't see who is that. Precious somebody? Who is that?
Joseph, tell this man.
Who the heck is that? Joseph don't know.
He look like that's Maurice White from
Thank you.
Earth, Wind and Fire, Maurice White.
Today, it's Earth, Wind and Fire, fellas.
Did nobody tell me? Why you didn't tell me? Because you trying to embarrass me on the show. Maya, get Jason off the show.
There's some truth behind that. There's some truth behind a real story, but I ain't gonna go there.
Hey man, you supposed to know this. This is a national holiday for Black music. It's Earth, Wind and Fire Day. Everybody knows September 21st. They say it in the song. Lance, what's wrong with you?
Jason, you lucky Maya not around. I had Maya put you off the show, trying to embarrass me like I don't know the Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like I don't know the elements. That's what they would call them pop stays, the elements.
Woo, look at them outfits, Joseph.
Man.
Them outfits working some of your sweat.
Yeah, they got the dashikis on, man. I've never seen that many dashikis in one photo.
So happy Earth, Wind and Fire Day to all of our viewers out there. Celebrate, play some good music. I was jamming to it before the show today. I actually played when they were on Sinbad's summer music jam down in the islands. I played that for about 30 minutes. That helped fire me up for the show. So happy Earth, Wind and Fire Day. I love music, and we're going to talk a little bit more of that with Jamar Hart, because we know HBCU's got the best bands in the country. So we'll talk about that with Jamar too. So Joseph, tell us, what do you have going on this week in the Chicago Crusader Newspaper?
Well, one of my first stories, my in-depth story, is a feature story on Kenwood Academy, who will eventually play fall sport in spite of cancellation of football contact activities. Just based on the recent statement made by the IHSA. And in addition to that, I spoke to the AD, Les Gill there. He was just talking about how other sports will continue to be played in spite of the lack of contact activity that normally football players are allowed to have during the fall season. But there will be other fall sports that will continue, like golf, swimming, and tennis, and I think it's a few more.
I think cross country.
Yeah, cross country, right. So I talk about that in the story in addition to the statement made by Mr. Anderson, I guess the director of the IHSA. And
anything else going on this week?
Yes. Also, I talked about you guys clinching the playoff berth. Wrote a story on that. Gave you guys full blown coverage. No Cubs,
nice.
And it's a blessing not to write about a loss, but I was like, I can talk about the Sox winning, so put a positive spin on that, and them clinching their first playoff berth in 12 seasons, and this is an amazing thing because you guys have been building, and last time you guys made it was in 08, so hey, let's keep it going. I got you guys going to the World Series, and just talking about the great things y'all done this season, and also that comeback victory, that 4-3 comeback victory against the Twins that actually helped you guys clinch the playoff berth. And last, it will be on the Bears, them improving to 2-0 in the season and pulling out the win. Money Mitch, he played two good quarters, first and second quarter, and then he turned into missing Mitch. In the second half, you couldn't see him. He disappeared, and I think we should have ran the ball more, just to take that pressure off him.
But Joseph, what pressure did he have on him? He had an excellent first half. So talk to me. How much pressure did he really have on him?
Well, if you got predictive play calling and defenses know what's coming, that puts pressure on you. And if I was them, not only I'll put Mitch in the shotgun, I'll also allow him to call a few audibles just to mix things up. You see what I mean? Because right now, like I can watch from my TV screen. You play Madden, y'all both play Madden, and you got your friend, you playing Madden, and you know all his plays because they all on the screen. You're like, I'm going. You see what I mean? That's how it is when you watch a Mr. Trubisky. Like you locking in on all his plays. You know what's coming. And I can tell when the Bears are about to run the ball. I can tell when the Bears are about to pass the ball.
Time out. If it's that obvious to us, unless you're a football genius and guru, that's a problem. That's all I'm gonna say. You might be a bad man, but this early, I thought Nagy was supposed to be Jason. You help me out. I thought Nagy was a professional play caller. That's what everybody was saying when he came.
Alleged. Let's use that word, alleged. I agree with both of you guys. I think the play calling, it's suspect. I also think that he's dealing with a lack of talent in the quarterback position, and that makes everybody's offense bad. I think the Bears have their offensive line is solid. I think they have a very strong receiving core, but we don't know because they don't have someone who can give them the ball. I think they have a very strong tight end core. Once again, we don't have someone who can give them the ball. And I think their running back game, David Montgomery is a beast.
That's a bad boy.
He's a bad boy. And, Mitch can't hand the ball off. So, I think we should do that more.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, come on, y'all. Sometimes you have to go vertical. You have to. I mean, if we're going to spread out the defense, right?
But Lance and Joseph, he doesn't really go vertical, even when he's throwing the ball. I am so tired of them stupid screen passes out in the flat on 3rd and 8. It's ridiculous. It's almost like, okay, they're going to Cordell Patterson on the screen, or they're going to Tariq Cohen on the screen. Just throw the ball down the field. Can he throw the ball 15 to 20 yards downfield to get that vertical game going? And that will open up so many of your other play options. But the Bears do not throw the deep ball enough.
I knew we were in trouble. And I knew it was going to be a little joke when I saw the Bears. And I know they were paying tribute to the old Bears and George Halas when they opened up with the T formation. I was like, y'all need to be y'all need to go back to that. At least we did get a yard on that. What I'm saying is that, if you're going to do these run passes, these RPOs and stuff like that, you have to sell it a little better. I'm talking about Mitch. Because Mitch can scramble the ball. I think
it's a good runner.
Yeah, he's a good runner. They should have never took his legs from him. Like in his first season, he was actually running the ball good. When he was improv, he was better. That's all I can say. And now we got an offensive line who can run protect. And as Sean was saying earlier on the Sean and Maya show, once you get an offensive line physically going, put them in the mindset to run the ball, then they're going to always have that aggressiveness to lay guys down. And also what they call them pancaking guys, giving out pancakes throughout the whole lineup, laying guys out. And then you got an in and out back, a guy who can punish guys like, Mr. Montgomery, David Montgomery, a.k.a. Monty, who put on a show. And if he didn't get hurt early in the first half, he was going to have over 100 yards that game, along with that TD. So the Bears' running game is ahead of the passing game right now, and hopefully we can hide Mitch a little bit better and hide some of our plays so that we won't keep having this conversation every week.
And see, that in and of itself is the problem. We got to actually hide the quarterback.
We're hiding a quarterback. How the hell you hide a quarterback? Look at me. I'm sorry, y'all. I apologize for using hell on the show. But how do you hide a quarterback that went before those other two bad guys? That went before Watson and those guys, Patrick Mahomes. So that's who. Jay, I'm gonna let you have it. I'm not.
Well, I think Sean said something really good today on his morning show when he said, we have to just accept Mitch for who he is. We got to forget that he was the second overall pick. Just understand he's not going to ever be that superstar quarterback. He's not going to be an all-pro, but we do need him to just be average. The Bears had an average quarterback the last time when they went to the Super Bowl. Rex Grossman was not, nothing to home about. But, he also had Thomas Jones. He had Cedric Benson. And Rex, he managed the offense, and they had a very strong defense, and that got them to the Super Bowl. They're going to have to go back to kind of that mentality if they're going to be a winning team, if you ask me.
That's true. That's true. And I still got them going to the Super Bowl because, as I said last week, this is the best time to catch teams sleeping. And that's what they've been doing. Even the worst teams are sleeping right now. So hopefully.
What did he just?
Okay, here we go. Fix your mics, fix your headphones. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Time out.
Here we go.
There's something wrong with my headphones. Did I just hear Joseph Phillips say they're going to the what?
Super Bears.
Maya.
Bowl. We only know one
on the show
anymore. Man. There's nothing else we can say, brother. I don't want to hear first round, second round, third round. Super Bowl or bust.
I'm stunned. You gonna bust, all right? But Maya, bust Joseph off the show, please. I can't take it.
Hey, Mitch looked good in the first half. Mitch looked good in the first half. Y'all actually talking about the second half of Mitch. That's what
I'm talking about I'm talking about Mitch's entire body of work the last 3 seasons, man. He is who he is. He's not going to give you more than a quarter or two. I mean, here's the thing, Joe. He did this against 2 terrible teams. He did this against Detroit and the Giants, and we play another terrible one next week in Atlanta, who just blew a lead to the Cowboys and lost. But it's only so many times luck is going to get you over. They're going to have to play some real teams here. And I'm scared to death of when we play Green Bay.
Well, we 2-0. Y'all try to act like we 0-2. Which side would you rather be on, as we said earlier? Would you rather be on the side of being 0-2 and having these problems and talking about this?
Yes.
I
would. Because it would get Matt Nagy the heck up out of there a heck of a lot faster.
You try to get Nagy fired.
It would get Ryan Pace up out of there a heck of a lot faster. It really would. And I hate to be that dude, but that's the truth. Because as long as they have a winning record, you're not going to be able to move them because they're going to be able to say, well, we won game. It's the problem I got with the White Sox and Ricky Renteria. I want to get the dude out of there because I don't think he can manage, but he's probably going to be the manager of the year in the American League because of what they're doing.
I'm trying to get rid of Double R now. Double R?
Let me tell my younger cousin something. Too. It's about the players also.
It is.
About the players. That man, what you call him, Double R? Double R has a crew. That man right there is about the talent too. Now, I'm not forgetting coaches thrown out the gate so soon because I'm a coach. Hell, people probably calling for my dad. They want me to stay longer. But anyway, it's tough. You have to have players, and I think the roster is okay, but we need some upgrades somewhere. I'm not going to jump on Mitch because I feel like Jay said, if he could be average and the running game continues to get better, the offensive line continues to grow, but we're putting a lot of pressure on the defense once again. And that's the thing I hate. The defense shouldn't have as much pressure as they have to have on them.
I agree. So we got a couple of minutes left here with Joseph, so I can't let you get out of here without you talking about the Cubs. Where are the Cubs right now? We see they're still first in the standings. How many games before you guys get to clinch and go to the playoffs?
Well, I guess we got to play it all out. We got to play the schedule out because so many different things can happen over the next 2 weeks. And all I got to say is this: what better way to clinch a playoff spot than to do it against the White Sox at the end of the week? That would be so lovely if we can do that.
Well, I mean, I'm pulling for you guys all the way up until Friday. And that's when you play the White Sox, for 3 games to end the regular season. And that's going to be huge, because there are going to be implications on playoff seedings probably. So I do think it's going to be interesting. Nobody's really going to be able to rest their players, that you probably got to play this whole thing out all the way through till Sunday. And I'm cool with that. The White Sox right now are losing 4-0 in Cleveland in the top of the 4th inning. But I think this thing is going to be going down to the wire in terms of playoff seedings for everybody. So definitely kind of looking forward to that. So, Joseph, thank you so much for joining us, letting us know what you got going on in the Chicago Crusader this week. Tell everybody where they can find you real quick.
Yes, feel free to visit us at ChicagoCrusader.com. And like I said, this week, we'll be talking about Kentwood football, no contact practices, Bears victory Monday, as we can all celebrate. And last but not least, the White Sox clinching the playoff spot. What's up, cuz? God bless y'all. Y'all have a great one.
Thank you. Irvin Phillips from the Chicago Crusader. Coming up, we're going to have Jamar Hart. And as we talk about the big news of the day for the HBCUs, woo, they got a good get there with prime time. Coming up, Jamar Hart right after this.
See me. See me.
See me. See my dark skin and my kinky hair.
See me. Don't see past me.
Don't see through me.
See me.
See my tan skin and my curly hair.
See me.
Don't see past me.
Don't see through me.
See me.
See my face, wet with tears from years of oppression.
See my hands, weathered and worn from decades of pulling myself up through your society.
See my feet split from centuries of walking your delicate line.
See me.
See me.
See me.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
Welcome back, everybody, to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, along with my cousin, the coach, Lance C. Irvin. And we do have that new poll question up for this week. So please visit www.Chicago Crusader Newspaper. They are sponsoring our poll question. And our poll question is, who is currently the best Black female tennis player? Is it A, Sloane Stephens, B, Madison Keys, C, Naomi Osaka, or D, Serena Williams? So we do have that new poll question up on the Crusader website. Go ahead and cast it. So, cuz before I bring on our next guest, what are your thoughts on the Bears just overall? What are you, I know how you voted last week, it's a Bears town, man. So, we take them very seriously.
I love the Bears, and I can only use this early for another week. So, give me one more week because we'd have preseason. So now it takes a minute. So I tell you what, like in basketball, my college coach, Boyd Grant, rest his soul, he used to tell us, after the 10th game, you are who you are, because we played 31 in basketball. After like J5 or 6, then we'd really be able to know how they are. But I think we have talent. But with that being said, you need Mitch to step up a little bit more. I'm sorry for you and Joseph to say what y'all said about the quarterback position. I mean, it's tough, but maybe he is just average. I don't know. But with that being said, though, he has enough around him to get some stuff done. But I get tired of the little dink and dunks, though. I mean,
Yeah.
2 yards here, 3 yards there. You have to open up your offense. At some point in time, you have to air the ball out, or they're gonna stack the box up on you. They're not gonna Montgomery not gonna be able to run, and then we're gonna have a problem. So we need to air it out a little bit. But time tell though, it's still early on the week
Yeah.
3.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, the big news of today is Deion Sanders, primetime Hall of Fame quarterback, the best shutdown quarterback in history, and my quarterback. He was announced today as a new head football coach at Jackson State University down there in Jackson, Mississippi. This is huge, not just for Jackson State, but I think for all HBCUs. And our next guest, he is currently a football coach down at Shaw University. And he also hosts a show here on SportsZone Chicago where he talks about a lot of stuff, but he really knows his history of sports at HBCU. So when that news broke today, I reached out to him right away, asked him, hey, man, can you come on our show tonight? We'd love to have you on to not just promote your show, but to talk about the big news today. So I'm going to bring him on. Jamar Harp, how you doing? He's joining us from North Carolina. What's up, Coach Harp? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, cuz?
What's up,
Thank you
cuz?
for having me on here.
How are you, Jay? You doing good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Trying to make it. Trying to get these workouts under these COVID regulations.
Thanks for being on. We appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we do. We do. Jamar, let me just come right out and ask you, big news today with Deion being named. Just your thoughts of when you heard about it. We heard rumors about it, but it was finalized today. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it's definitely monumental, not only for Jackson State, but for Black College as well. There's been a lot of other professionals became head coaches. Currently, I'm the head coach at I'm an assistant head coach at Livingstone College in Salisbury, North Carolina, and our head coach, Sean Gilbert, was a number 3 pick in the 1992 draft. You've had Stump Mitchell that spent some time at Southern University, as well as Howard. Going back to Howard, my first coaching job, one of Deion's teammates was my offensive coordinator, Alvin Harper. But there's never been no one on this level to be hired. It's definitely great for Jackson State due to their football history. Everyone talks about Walter Payton, but what most people don't know, in that 1975-76 NFL draft, Jackson State had 2 players drafted in the top 10, Walter Payton and Dr. Doom, William Brazil. So Jackson State has a lot of rich history. The SWAC now is a proverbial super conference with the additions of Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M. So I'm hoping that he brings a lot of people to Jackson State, and others decide to go play for historically Black colleges as well.
Yeah, my apologies on that. You are at Livingston College. My apologies for giving you the wrong school there. Jamar, what is this going to do for the profile of that SWAC conference, bringing a big name coaches? I remember they had Doug Williams when he was at Grambling some years back, and everyone thought that would be kind of the big thing. But what do you think is different about it now, in addition to Deion being named?
Well, if you look at today's social and political climate, there's definitely a lot of unrest in regards to athletics, especially in economic disparity. So with bringing a large cachet hire such as this, not only is it going to help that school, but the conference. There's word that he's trying to lure Ed Reed from Miami, football operations guy, to be his DC, and Pac-Man Jones to be his defensive backs coach. So he's also planning on preparing a star-studded staff. Like he said in his press conference today, he believes he can go out and recruit the top athletes away from Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and other perennial powers that are in BCS football to Jackson State.
I think, Jamar, listening, first of all, staff is key. But also what you talked about just a few minutes ago is resources. I mean, it's tough when your resources is not as big as the other schools. Tell me what you think can be done from a resource standpoint that maybe help Deion more than what we think.
Definitely. If you look at Dion's circle, his resources could be limitless, and that's not just giving money. Again, with my head coach, Sean Gilbert, he's not only a head coach, but he's a musician, he's a philanthropist, a chess enthusiast. So he does a lot of things that can be marketable for a program. Similar to Coach Gilbert, Dion can do the same thing at Jackson State, hold silent auctions, talk to his former teammates to give in regards to recruiting and other areas that FCS sports are lacking due to the discrepancies in economics. So again, with his cachet and support from teammates and fellow former NFL players, I'm pretty confident he can raise the money to compete and go out. And that's what mainly, when we talk about resources, it's recruiting, being able to hit your feet on the ground in as many different cities as you can, to sit on as many couches as you can, and lure as many of these men away from predominantly white institutions to Jackson State.
Mm-hmm. And with that also being said, one thing about Dion, I think he could get in anybody's living room. But what can he do to land that top 5, top 10 player? Because Ole Miss, they're not going anywhere. Alabama, they're not going anywhere. So what do you think he needs to do to land some of those guys?
I think just be himself and sell not only his program but his style of play. If you're familiar with the SWAC, they've already had a long procession of quarterbacks and other players transferring from the Southeastern Conference to the SWAC.
Mm-hmm.
Tavares Jackson started at the University of Arkansas, finished up at Alabama State. Gramblin's quarterback from a few years ago, Devontae Kincaid, started out at Ole Miss, finished at Grambling. So there's been plenty of examples of that in the past. It's just getting to the kids, letting them know that they're going to have support on the field and off the field, and a coaching staff that's plugged in that can get scouts to the campus. It's a beautiful campus. Their stadium is off campus. I know this. I spent some time coaching at Mississippi Valley, and their stadium seats about 60,000. So again, if they just had the money for resources in regards to recruiting, being able to put 2 feet on the ground in all 50 states, that would be monumental with his enthusiasm, his experience, and his wordplay.
Man, I think it's a great hire, but the one thing I get scared about oftentimes, Jamar, when we talk about battling the big boys, is facilities. Facilities is key. Look at some of these stadiums that some of the upper echelon schools that you just mentioned, but let's just talk about some of the schools that's not upper echelon. I think if he can draw money to improve the facilities, then he might have a shot. From a facility standpoint, if you had a magic wand, what would you upgrade first?
Okay, so if you ever been to Jackson State's campus, again, it's a beautiful campus. Their athletic center, it's called the Peyton Center. It's named after Walter's brother, Eddie, who was a golf coach there for over 20-some years. I would definitely have an addition to that to make it strictly for football. Again, they play their games off campus. So on campus is just a football facility and practice fields. I would build that up first with nutrition. That's one thing that lacks on smaller levels.
That's what
the supplementation, so the players can grow and maintain their gains throughout the year. Academic facilities, maybe a new dorm, and just again putting money in to recruiting so they can hit every state. Most
Jamar,
people.
you named 15 things, Jamar. Give me my thing, buddy. You named 15 things. Early on, coaching like I know coaching.
Yeah.
Coaching like I know coaching. You're not going to get, you will get a lot, but it has to be a couple of specific things that he needs. Like, I like your first couple of points. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just teased you. I'm like, Jamar hit me with like 15 things. If I wish I could get all 15 of those at Chicago State.
Well, I would say nutrition, better food service, and then money for recruiting. With the type of staff he's trying to hire and the facilities they already have, and they're already getting transfers from Division I schools. One of my former coaches, Rick Comagee, used to coach at Jackson State, and when he was there, he had transfers from Notre Dame, from every BCS school you can imagine at Jackson State. So this has been done before. So if he gets money for recruiting and nutrition, they can be a perennial power.
Nice. Once again, we're being joined by Jamar Harp. We're discussing the hiring of Deion Primetime Sanders as the new head football coach at Jackson State University down in Mississippi. Jamar, let me ask you this. So here's my concern, and it may be a little bit further down the line, but I know how some of these institutions are. So Deion's there. Let's say he starts pulling in a couple 4 or 5 star players. Many of these schools like Jackson State, like Southern, like Florida A&M, during the non-conference portion of their seasons, they play the big boys. They'll, Florida A&M plays Miami. They play Florida State. Southern may play LSU. They take those losses. Deion starts pulling in these athletes, and he starts actually really competing against some of these big schools. My fear is that they're no longer going to schedule him. Is that something that he may have to deal with down the line?
Most certainly. I would like to use an example. Another one of my coaches, Sam Washington. He was a defensive coordinator when I was at North Carolina Central. Now he's the head coach at North Carolina A&T. If you follow them on any level, you'll see that they've had a lot of big wins over predominantly white institutions, most notably East Carolina in the previous years. And now it was hard for them to get a game. They have left the MEAC. They're now in the Big South Conference. So they may have a better time now because they're not in a historically black conference. But as soon as he starts winning, it's going to be very tough for him to get games. And the games he does get is going to be against their top 5 BCS schools. And in those situations, you have to worry about injury. A few years ago, Georgia played Southern University, and on the kickoff, someone ran down and got hit and was paralyzed. He's walking now, but you have to take that in consideration when you play those top 5 teams. So it's going to be real tough for him as soon as he gets his first non-HBCU win. He's going to be left just to play the top 5 schools. Gotcha.
I guess my follow-up question to that is, also a big key to this is bowl games. Currently, there are some bowl games for some of the HBCUs. What bowl alignment would Jackson State currently be set up to go into if they were to get selected for a bowl?
Well, right now, it's the Celebration Bowl. That's the bowl played on ABC and the ESPN family of networks. It was between the champion of the Southwestern Athletic Conference and the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. Those are the 2 FCS, historically black conferences that compete in football. Mm-hmm. And there's $1 million giveaway for that for the champion. So their options will be a Celebration Bowl or to opt out of that and go to the FCS playoffs.
Right. And so if they opt out of that, do the FCS playoffs, because I think the key to this thing is, you want to get in better bowl games. Eventually, somewhere down the line, you want to be able to compete for like Rose Bowl bids and all that. But we know we're a long way away from that. But how quickly could you see them, if he puts this program together and they start winning, that they can get to that next level of bowl after the Celebration Bowl?
Well, what you're talking about is transcending levels. Unlike basketball, football is tiered. So you have your BCS, and then you have FCS, which is more commonly known as 1AA. And you have Division II and Division III. Jackson State competes on the FCS level. So they have the one playoff game for the 2 historically black college and university conferences. And besides that, the teams go to the playoffs. So if Jackson State wanted to transcend and compete for playoffs, they will have to leave the FCS and go to BCS. Florida A&M has tried this in the past, but due to the economic limitations that you need to be BCS, you have to increase not only your number of sports, but your number of female sports, academic staff. There's a litany of criteria that must be met. So is very hard, and a lot of people haven't done that. The only teams that have done it recently will be the predominantly white schools, Appalachian State, Georgia Southern, Old Dominion, or some teams that left FCS and went to BCS Marshall, but no HBCU has done that yet.
Right. I agree with you, and thank you for clarifying that. And I would love to see that be one of their goals. I would love for that to be one of their goals, for them to say, hey, we're going to, I'll look at this in a broader perspective, okay? I say we invest in one or two HBCUs, put, as many of the top athletes there, and then have those two move up to that next tier of the BCS. And then we can kind of, once we get that started, then, we'll start seeing the progression as we go through. More of our top players starting to go to these HBCUs. This is something that's bothered me for the last 20, 30 years, Jamar, is that we are sending our most talented athletes to schools that basically just don't give a damn about them. Don't give a damn about them as students. Don't give a damn about them as people. Just see them as a commodity to raise money for institutions that do not care about our community. So this is something very personal for me. And that's why I'm really kind of pushing on this point, because I really do want to see him kind of do well there, and for him to push Jackson State more into the national conversation. Lance, you have a question for Jamar?
Yeah, just piggybacking on your comment, Jay. You had some strong points, which I understand. But one thing I always think about that I just mentioned earlier, if some of the HBCUs, if we could catch up from the facility standpoint, from the training standpoint, from the nutrition standpoint, like Jamar talked about, then we will have a shot. I think some things that get us is that the facilities need to be upgraded. If we could do that, because oftentimes as a player, I don't know if you and Jamar agree or disagree, you like seeing stuff that's new. And oftentimes our stuff at HBCUs, I'm going to say our because my daughter goes to one, it's not up to par like some of the other schools. So if we could work some of those things out, Jay and Jamar, I think from a fundraising standpoint, a development standpoint, then you could see us compete year in and year out. But you need those things to attract some of the top players. Do I think players should go there? Yes, of course. So I'm just talking from a facility standpoint and upgrade. I think that'll definitely help.
Well, first, let's address it from a historical point. You guys are both correct, but the facilities issue is only 40 years old. Why do I say that? In 1979, everyone knows this story. The University of Miami hired Howard Schnellenberger to be his head coach. Why did they do that? Because in 1978, they got the brakes beat off of them by FAMU. But people don't know this story. So Howard Schnellenberger took all FAMU players and created the U. So that's when all these facilities came. So you are correct that we can get back into building some facilities, mega stadiums, things of that nature to attract the top talent. Now is a time that they will begin that shift back to Black college. I remember I started coaching in 2005 at Grambling State, and when I was in grad school, and all the stories I used to hear. And one time we were at a game, and it was a guy talking about how good they used to be, and everybody was 6'4" and 6'5". Then the O&D line came out. So you can really see the change again from the late 1970s till now, and how it shifted. So with these facilities, will get everything back, and then we can be on par to fight to go BCS and compete against and try to get in the Rose Bowl or a Sugar Bowl or something in that nature.
So once again, we're being joined by Jamar Harp here. He's talking about the hiring of Deion Sanders at Jackson State University. Lance, you have a question?
Yeah, from the Howard standpoint, Jamar, I've seen there's been a couple of schools left the MEAC and went to the SWAC, and Howard seems like one of the few schools that's left in the MEAC. What's your thoughts on Howard? You think they're gonna stay there? You think they're gonna try to make a move if you've been following them? What's your thoughts on Howard?
Well, I think everyone is up in air in regards to the MEAC now, especially only having 6 participating schools in the sport of football. Rumor is that Howard, due to their location in the Northeast Corridor, may get courted by the Northeast Conference with teams such as Robert Morris and St. Francis. It's more of a basketball conference, but as of right now, there's no word on that. I'm hoping that the MEAC can stabilize and add some schools because, again, every superhero needs a villain. So the SWAT needs the MEAC and vice versa.
I like that.
Without a doubt. So, Jamar, today is Earth, Wind, and Fire Day. What's your favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire song?
Ooh.
You weren't expecting that one.
I used to play that music when I was on my birthdays. I'm a little younger. I just turned 41, so I'll be on the blanket.
Congrats.
My birthday party, and they be outside with the red cup. So I like Devotion.
Nice.
Pretty good.
Nice. Devotion is a good one. Devotion definitely a good one. Well, and I bring that up because today is Earth, Wind, and Fire Day, but one of the things about HBCUs that we're known for are our bands. And, the press conference today when they introduced Dion, Jackson State did it in that traditional, they did it in that traditional HBCU fashion. And I thought it was wonderful. Being a guy who, coaches in the HBCU, how important is it just for that environment in terms of a selling standpoint to try to recruit these young men to come to your school? Because, I've always said once they take a look at them girls on them dance teams, you're gonna get a lot of them right there.
Definitely. Well, like I said, I'm from Pittsburgh, and coming to school in North Carolina just changed my outlook on things. So one thing I do now in coaching, anytime I go recruit, I go see the band director, whatever high school. So that way I can kill two birds with one stone, and try to increase that enrollment and get that band size up. But the band plays, a large part. It's a lot of culture in that in itself. Most bands, they have a fifth quarter, and after the game is over, they just go song for song till someone quits. So that has its own pageantry, and people come just for that. So like I said, it's a great experience. I recommend everybody coming with the great migration from people from Mississippi to Chicago. Chicagoans have a lot of ties in the SWAC anyway, in particular Mississippi. So go down there and roll like Livingstone, send your athletes just to a black college and watch them grow off the field as well as on the field.
Well said.
I agree. So, Jamar, thank you so much for joining us and giving us some of the history. But let's talk about your show that you've got on SportsZone Chicago. Tell the people a little bit about your show and when it airs here on SportsZone Chicago.
All right. Well, my show is SportsZone 101. Basically, it's an in-depth look at the cultural, social, and economic aspects of sport with some history base. So we tackle sport from a wide variety of topics on different segments. We've done segments on Negro League baseball, the history of the Kentucky Derby and black jockeys,
yes,
Dominican presence in baseball. And we just try to provide an outlet to show that we can be more than players on the field. We're innovators, not only in style of play, but in different concepts. Like, for example, the fast break offense come from McClendon at North Carolina Central. So there's a lot of innovation in black college sports. So we just want to highlight that and encourage more people to not only get on the playing side, but on the administrative side as well.
Love it. And your show is on Wednesdays, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, sir. Wednesdays at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
Love it. Well, Coach Harp, thank you so much for joining us from down there in North Carolina. You be safe down there. And once again, we really appreciate you coming on and breaking down this Deion Sanders hire and what it means for HBCUs. Thanks a lot, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right, cuz.
Appreciate it, cuz.
Great conversation there with Jamar Hart. Coming up after our commercial break, we'll be bringing on Howard Griffith, and he's going to talk about the Big Ten and what the University of Illinois and Lovie Smith, what we can expect from them this year. He may also talk a little bit of Northwestern, but I just really enjoyed that last segment there because the HBCUs are something dear to our heart for both of us. You got a daughter that attends a HBCU. I have many friends who graduated from HBCUs, and I guess if there was one thing I didn't ask Jamar about is, in terms of alumni giving back. A lot of people don't understand, once you graduate from a school, your commitment to that school really shouldn't end there. You do want to try to give back to that school, and these HBCUs, they need that funding. So that's something we can talk about. We're going to go to break right now, and we'll come back in about 2 minutes. We'll be bringing on Howard Griffith here pretty soon. He's going to talk about the Big Ten's decision to play football again. So stay with us, folks.
Compassion, noun. Sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. We're all born with it. It's in us. Don't believe me? When you hear a baby cry, something pulls at you. You want to ease that pain. You want to soothe that hurt. No one had to teach you that. It's called compassion, and it's in you. However, at some point you turned it off when it came
To me.
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 The cries of my soul have gone unheard, but today, you will hear me.
My heart has wailed a melody loud enough to shatter your ears, and you ignored me. But this week, you will hear me.
This body has beat the drums of anguish, only to be silenced. But this month, you will hear me.
This year,
This decade,
This century,
I will be heard. And
you will be the one to hear me.
and when I am finally heard,
Show compassion.
show compassion.
show compassion.
Remember, it's in you.
Welcome back, everybody, to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, along with my cousin, the coach, Lance C. Irvin. Lance, I got some breaking news, man.
What's the breaking news, Jay? Give me the breaking news.
The White Sox have tied the Indians at 4 after a 2-run home run by Eloy Jimenez in the top of the 5th inning.
I'll tell you what, the White Sox, we just a home run hitting machine. I tell you. But hey, I tell you what, if I was a pitcher, Jay, I think I wouldn't pitch to Eloy. Definitely wouldn't pitch to TA.
Yeah.
Abreu. Now we'll probably pitch around that man because that's a bad man with that stick in his hand.
Yeah, he is. Grandal?
You know what? I might pitch to Grandal.
He just hit a double, so he just
high and tight.
Right. He just hit a double. You know, you got Luis Robert who's going through some stuff right now, but you also got James McCann who's hitting the ball well. So
Roberts, I might try my breaking balls with Roberts because Roberts still got some youth in him. So I might try my breaking balls, or I'll go high and tight, see if I could get him going for that. But those guys, I tell you what, Jay, that's a good team. That's a good team.
I mean, they're never really out of a game, are they?
No, you never out of the game with them, and their pitching has been good. I mean, anytime even though Dylan Cease lost, but I think he's a quality pitcher. And this guy Maya is talking about Dane Dunnigan. I mean, Maya had me doing research about the man. I mean, Maya swept down about that. Jay, I spent like a couple of minutes Sunday looking up Dane Dunnigan research. I said, Maya gonna get on here. She's gonna talk about her boy Dane. Dane. I can't wait till he pitch next time. I'm front and center. I'm gonna put everything off to the side. I'm gonna give him my full, undivided attention for 5 innings.
Well, he pitched tonight. He didn't make it through 5. He got through 4. He got kind of roughed up today. Gave up 4 runs, but they came back. They helped him out. They tied the game up, so it won't go against him on record. But I think this was actually his first kind of subpar outing since they've been playing him. So, that's going to happen. You've been a pitcher. They ain't going to all be winners every time out.
Yeah, Jay, because I remember I threw a pitch. Was it Marlon Maxey? I threw a pitch. I'll never forget. It might have been Walter Bond. It was one of those guys. We was playing at Southeast. I threw a fastball. That ball's still going somewhere. That ball's still going somewhere. But at least I gave him home runs to guys that was really good. I remember, Jay. See, now you got me going down memory lane.
That's all right.
But it's this guy named Dan Wilson. Played for the Seattle Mariners, right? I'm up 1-0 in the 5th inning. I walked somebody, so I got somebody on first. So now we up in the 5th inning, Jay. I'm rolling. I done struck out about 12, 13. Here come Dan. I threw him a curveball. He missed it. Throw him another curveball. He missed it. I'm thinking I'm going to sneak that fastball by him, Jay. So I wound up. I look good. I got my J.R. Reynolds hold. Got the high leg kick. I threw that thing as fast as I can. He hit that thing as hard as he can straight out the phone. And we lose 2-1. But at least he played in the major leagues for about 10 to 12 years. He's a back catcher for the Seattle Mariners when Griffey was playing with them. See, so I mean.
Well, there you go. There you go. You can say I gave up my home to a future major leaguer.
I gave it up to players.
There you go.
Real players.
Nothing wrong with that.
What you think about the Sox, Jay? Can we win it?
I think the Sox, their pitching is the dangerous part. I don't know if they can hold up because they got so many injuries and they're pitching so many young guys right now. I think, it's good to get in the playoffs. I think they'll win a series, and then after that, it's going to be kind of dicey just because of the inexperience factor. I don't think it's a talent standpoint. I just think it's a lot. These young men are being put under a lot of pressure here to get some stuff done. So, we'll kind of see. But before we bring on Howard, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the WNBA. The women of the WNBA, they're currently in the semifinals, and we had a game between Minnesota and Seattle that got postponed yesterday.
Yeah, that was, I was sitting there like, I thought it was a joke at first because things has been running so smoothly within the bubble. The WNBA, the NBA, things have been running smoothly. So I'm sitting there because, Sundays is a busy sports day.
Right.
So I'm flipping and I go to I think it was Channel 7 the game was supposed to come on.
Mm-hmm.
There's no game. So I looked, my phone was going off and I looked. I said, man, the game was canceled. So have you heard anything about it? I think they didn't say it was some players. Or
right.
anything?
So basically what happened was they had some tests within one of the team's organization for COVID come back kind of inconclusive. Didn't say it was positive necessarily, said it was inconclusive, but now there are reports that there were, a couple of positive tests on somebody's staff. It's been very fluid. The one thing I can say is that the WNBA has really kind of not talked about it other than that initial report that they were postponing the game, but they haven't given us an update in the media or any more of the details. So we're all kind of basically sitting here in limbo trying to figure out what they're going to do. We talked to Coach James of the Sky and the players. We've had them on our show, and they said they thought that the wobble was a great idea and that, they hadn't had any problems at all until what creeped up the other day. So this is kind of like, something new for them. And I was really looking forward to seeing that series between Seattle and Minnesota. I think it's going to be a great series.
Hey, that's going to be a great series. I tell you what, because Stewie is for real.
Yeah, Brianna Stewart is no joke.
She is the truth. She reminds me of Kevin Durant. Seriously. Jordan Canada, the point guard. She's really good. I think Howard plays for – Howard was my girl last year. Howard was about 6'4", long, athletic. So, I mean, I think that's going to be – that has the making for a really good series. Really good series, Jay.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for the women of the WNBA. They did a lot of stuff in the offseason to improve their quality of life of being a WNBA player. We all knew about their salaries, how little they were being paid. Let me say, they made strides in that. They made strides for what happens if a player needs to go on maternity leave. They asked for the league to give them more advertising, more game coverage. The games are now on more networks, so you can actually see the games. So, I think they made a lot of strides in the offseason. They were really revving up to have probably one of their better WNBA seasons they've ever had in the history of the league. And then, COVID hit. They had to go down there. They had to do the wobble thing. And, everything has been going pretty well. And then, kind of all of a sudden this thing here happened. We are going to be joined by Howard Griffith. I want to let our viewers know we are having a little bit of technical issues. Remember, it is 2020, so there's a lot of stuff going on, and we're trying to work with Howard to get that. He's on standby here, but we'll bring him on in a few minutes. In the meantime, let's me and you talk about something I know you've been watching: the NBA playoffs.
Hey, you know what?
Last night, that Anthony Davis shot.
Hey, I tell you what, the Irvin family chat went off from the time the ball went in the basket for the next hour. First of all, it was an argument why Plumlee didn't switch. It wasn't a screen. We all are taught on defense. Most teams will tell you during the stretch is always like, hey, if it's a screen, switch 1 through 5, no matter what. But if you don't get screened, you have to stay with them. And they didn't set a screen. So Anthony Davis does have time to run out there and catch it. But now I tell you what, Jokic did a great job going from Rondo, who threw the inbound pass in, to actually getting out there, getting the hand up to cover Anthony Davis. So, I mean, excellent pass by Rondo, great shot by AD. But that's going to be a series. I mean, I'm taking the Lakers in 4, but you can't tell me the Nuggets not going to win one.
So here was my thing with that. I watched, a good portion of the game in the second half there, and, it seemed like Denver was out of it, and then all of a sudden, here they come. Here they come. They make a great run, and the Lakers are now in a fight for their life. And, I'm like, man, if it comes down to this final shot, though, it's like, the Lakers got two hammers. You got Anthony Davis and you got LeBron. That could be double trouble. I was like, man, Denver need to hurry up and get this thing over with. If they can get this lead and try to hold them off, because them dudes killers. They ain't going to just back away. And, Anthony, he made a play. God bless him. He made a play. Chicago's own Anthony Davis, and he got the Lakers to win. But, in his post-game interview, he said himself, these guys are not going to go away. The Nuggets are going to compete with us in this series, and we're going to have to battle each and every game.
You know what? They're not going away. But one thing we just talked about with the Sox, you mentioned youth. Well, sometimes what you don't know is good. And with their youth, they don't know. They know about coming back. They know how to continue fighting. They always have a chance because it's not just Joker. It's not Murray. Paul Millsap is playing good. Gary Harris can play. Gary Harris can shoot it. You got Grant has long. He's athletic. He has length. And Denver is a physical team. So now when you have multiple players who can score, they can pass it. First of all, that 1-5 screen and roll with the Joker and Murray, two guys. Like Murray is good coming off the ball screen. Jokic is a good pick and pop guy. So teams having a hard time saying, hey, do we switch it? Do we trap it? Do we hard hedge it? So I mean, it's tough because he throws it back to Jokic, and he's making those threes all day. So it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a really good series, but that 1-5 screen and roll, Jay, that's tough to guard.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the Eastern Conference. Jimmy Butler and the Heat having 2-1 lead over the Boston Celtics. You know, here's my thing. When Jimmy was in Chicago, they said, oh, he could never lead a team. He went to, Philadelphia. He's like, I definitely can't deal with these fools. He got up out of there. Jimmy got his butt up out of there. And now he's down in Miami. And what is he doing? He's leading a team that many people didn't think was going to get this far. But here they are in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics. And after dispatching the Milwaukee Bucks, put that on his resume. And now they're up 2-1 against the Celtics. What are your thoughts on Miami and particularly in Jimmy Butler?
First, Tony Barnes just put something about the screens. The Joker did make a couple of big plays down the stretch. I think he hit like the last 11 points for Denver. But when we talk about the Heat and Boston, and let's talk about Jimmy Butler first, what you talked about, Jimmy Butler found the right team. Mm-hmm. He's a hard-working Jimmy Butler mindset and his work ethic. It goes well with the Miami Heat. Like those guys, they mean all business. They tough, they physical. Pat Riley not taking all that foolishness now. You cannot come in and not work and play for the Miami Heat. I remember a story where Tim Hardaway told me. Tim Hardaway, we were talking with Jay, right? And Tim said, "Man, Lance, I took my father to practice, and he sneezed. And Pat Riley called me over and told me, tell your father to stop sneezing, or I'm gonna put him out the gym." I said, "Come on, Tim, are you serious?" Yeah, he said he had my father scared to sneeze in there. But Jimmy Butler is cut for that culture. And with that being said, I mean, how can you really not follow a guy, Jay? And I don't even know if follow is the right word, but he plays so hard. Mm-hmm. He does it day in and day out. I think all he wants you to do is leave it on the court like he does. I'm not sure if he yells at guys. I don't know, but I know one thing. That's a tough dude. That's a tough dude.
He is, and I think, the thing I noticed about both of those teams is that, there's not a lot of scoring coming off of the bench for Boston. So far, it seems like they're doing it with their starting five. Miami's getting a little bit of help from their bench. How do you think that's going to play a role going forward in this series?
I mean, basically with the Boston, I know Williams is coming off the bench, but as long as they get scoring, like I told my friend the other day, somebody called me and I said, Jaylen Brown, that put pressure on Jaylen Brown. He has to be big. Like Jaylen Brown needs to get 25, 30 every game. There's pressure on him. I'm not going to use the word pressure because most of these guys are pros and they're professional scorers, at least Brown is. But with that being said, he has to chip in like 25 or 30. You need Williams to come off the bench to give him something. But the Miami Heat, like, they got Kendrick Nunn over there. Kendrick Nunn started. Mm-hmm. And his minutes has been down. He have Myers Leonard over there. Mm-hmm. His minutes has been down. So, coaches tend to in the playoffs go with 7, 8 guys. So I don't think it's going to be a factor in this series, but it might become a factor in the next series because both of those teams are playing limited players. I
mean, you just mentioned some names. Talk a little bit about Chicago's influence in the NBA playoffs. We still got people. You got Jalen Halen Thornton with the Lakers. So many Chicago players still in this thing.
You got THT. Tatum played excellent when I saw him play a couple of nights ago in the last series. You have him. Kendrick Nunn is still in the series. Anthony Davis is still in the series. So Chicago is represented in these series. And
just not with the Bulls.
Leave the Bulls alone. But I mean, if you look at it, Rondo used to play for the Bulls, so I claim Rondo on this one too. I tell you what, Jay, they can say what they want to about Rondo. Rondo is good. Now, his shot might get a little shaky at times, but he's been shooting the ball better. But Rondo is super smart. He knows how to find guys. He knows how to make guys play. But getting back to the Chicago guys, I'm proud of all of them. Like, I was sitting there the other day when I was watching Tatum playing. I remember watching Tatum back in high school when he played for Simeon High School. Him and Kendrick Nunn. And one thing I thought about Tatum was I said, you know what? He's a professional scorer. He could always score. And I thought Kendrick Nunn was crafty. He was physical. One thing about those guys being from Chicago, they always competed. And they competed at a high level. And it wasn't no fear in those guys. They were always ready to play. And that's translated to the NBA for those guys. And I'm so proud of those guys just sitting there watching them play. So I wish them the best. Hopefully the Lakers can play the Heat. But I tell you what, though, it's going to be tough because, I mean, Boston is not going anywhere. I think that series is going to the best of 7.
Yeah, I think Boston said, with that victory the other day, okay, all right, y'all want to play? We're going to play. We're going to regroup. We're going to get this thing together, and we're going to go. And you definitely see, that game that they just won. They seem to be hitting their cylinders. Series, you're going to learn from your opponent in every game. And it's a constant state of adjustments and constantly reevaluating your strategy. And, okay, well, they're going to do this, let's do this. And by the time you get to game 4, probably even earlier than that, you kind of know what your opponent is going to do. And it's just about who can execute better almost at a certain point. But yeah, I'm very happy to see all the guys from Chicago who are representing our city in the NBA. And, I just hope we don't become like Minnesota. When I lived in Minnesota, they would always tell me how they have more American hockey players in the NHL for Minnesota than any other state. And I'd be like, yeah, but y'all can't win a Stanley Cup with your own damn team. The Wild can't win a Stanley Cup. I'm hoping that, I have not put out some bad mojo out there. And now, Chicago Bulls, we not going to win another title. We got all these people in the league playing for everybody else. I would love to see the Bulls get back on top in this city. And, we still haven't heard from the head coach search. Have you heard of any names that are circulating?
I was just sitting here thinking about that. And I'm like, I haven't heard a name yet, which is kind of strange. I'm going to call you cousin B.I. I asked Byron if he heard any names. But, I talked to one of their assistants the other day. In fact, a couple of them. And they still waiting also. So they haven't heard anything. I got a chance to know Chris Fleming, who was one of the assistants. And, they haven't heard anything as of yet. But it's kind of strange we haven't heard anything. But there's still a couple of jobs out there. I know we talked about Mark Jackson. We talked about Tyronn Lue. We talked about Udoka. We talked about him. So with that being said, it might be a guy, Jay, that's a long shot that nobody's even thinking about because that Steve Nash hire came out of nowhere.
It did. It really did. And, that's the thing with the Bulls. This has been, almost a month now since they fired Boylan. So this is a rather long period of time. But I think also, given the circumstances, we don't know when there's going to be an NBA season, when they're going to start. We got to give time for free agency to play out. There's a lot kind of going on in 2020, so you got to play this whole thing by ear. So maybe they feel like they're not in a rush to name a head coach kind of right away. I just think the fans and the media and the rest of us would like to know, hey, what's the plan here, fellas, kind of going forward. Some other bit of news, I do know the NHL, Gary Bettman, their commissioner, did announce the other day that they are going to go ahead with an 82-game season for 2021. They're going to do a full 82-game season. They're going to start the season with no fans in attendance. That is kind of where they are with it, but they are committed to doing 82 games, no fans in attendance for at least the foreseeable future. But I thought that was a very interesting decision. The NHL said, no, we're going. They've been able to pull off a very successful playoffs. The Stars and Lightning are currently playing now in Game 2 after the Stars took Game 1 in the finals. They haven't had any problems. They've been pretty much like the WNBA. They haven't had any problems in their bubble. So hockey is going forward. How do you see the NBA? If you were commissioner, what are your thoughts? What would you do next year going forward in the NBA?
Jay, that's tough. I mean, because with that being said, the season is basically going to end in October. So now, when are we starting up again? I wouldn't start up until at least Christmas because the players need some rest. You really got October, November. Man.
But didn't they get rest? But didn't they get rest when the season got postponed, Lance? I mean, they got rest basically from March until June.
But that was a stressful rest. You didn't know what the heck was going on. You rest same way like I didn't get any rest. I was doing so much stuff during this time. You and I started this podcast. Right. We're watching tapes every day. They still working out. The good ones were still exercising. So you didn't compete, but you really didn't really take off because normally, Jay, those guys taking off from what? Season over in May. You got what? May for most of them, June, July, August, September, October. So they having months off versus they maybe had 2 months off maybe, but it's not off. So time will tell, but I wouldn't start until like Christmas, maybe even January 1st. But people hollering Christmas, but are they gonna play a full 82 games, Jay? Can you get 60? Because now you're gonna run into some of the other seasons. So, but this is the time to try something different for everybody that wants to try something different. This is when you try some out of the box stuff. Because nobody can see the future. So you could try whatever you want to and just say, hey, let's just blame this on COVID. Let's try it.
So here's the thing. So, and here's the other thing that's going to complicate the NBA next year. If they start at Christmas, you still got to kind of wrap the season up. Like, I don't know how you're going to do a full 82 because you got to get this season wrapped up. Because remember, the Olympics are supposed to be played next year.
See, and I didn't even think about the Olympics.
See what I'm saying? So they can't extend it into July and August like they did this time if the Olympics take place. Now, we don't know if the Olympics is going to be able to jump off again in 2021. But let's say they do go ahead with the Olympics. You got so many NBA players who are going to be competing for their country. You got to get the NBA finals out of the way by June so that they can start preparing for the Olympics.
It's all, Jay, it's like day by day. Like I got a call from another coach asking about scheduling and asking about testing. And I'm like, the stuff changes every day. Are we taking 3 tests, which is 2 PCR tests and 1 antigen test, or is it going to be uniformity? Like, are we going to miss the start of the season? So it all changes, Jay, every day. I'm on a conference call tomorrow, and I'm interested to see what are they going to say about that. Like, kind of like Big Ten football. With our man Howard Griffin, and hopefully Howard could get his stuff right. I can't wait to ask him about. I'm gonna tease Howard. Howard acting like he went to Lindblom. Howard went to Dillon, so our stuff's supposed to work right.
Hey man, it's called Lindblom Technical High School. Okay, so we're very technical and technology based. So it's the Howard dude. Howard's the one that's having a trouble. Lord.
Okay, so when I show up, and he's gonna probably get it right because now I came on screen. Oh wait, I'm hoping because of the fact that I stoked the fire and said, "Oh, here he is, Howard." I said, "This is what happens when you go to Illinois and not Iowa. You guys get your stuff together." Oh, I gave him the business.
You gave him the business?
Oh, Howard, wave if you can hear me right now. Howard, wave, wait. Oh, there he goes. Should I bring him on, guys?
Well, I'll give him a proper introduction because I don't want him coming on in such a heated environment.
Illinois people, limit how much they come on because they're not the brightest stars in the sky.
Hey, Jay, bring my man in. Jay.
I better get him on.
Introduce your guest. Forget about break.
So coming on our 7:00 guest here at 7:30. I guess we just won't do the commercial. Should we do the commercial and then bring them on, or just bring them on? What you want me to
Bring my man in.
All right, we're going to bring him in. All right, so come to us. He is an alum of CPS Julian High School. He's an alum of the University of Illinois. He currently works on the Big Ten Network. You can check him out. He's here to talk about Big Ten football. What can we expect in this crazy 2020? Howard Griffith is joining us. Howard, what's up, man?
I'm a little confused. I know I'm a little old and all of that. And I apologize that I couldn't quite figure this thing out. But I'd like to get directions and clear directions. And, I was trying to be helped through this process. And I got to tell you, I was not getting very clear direction.
Oh, God.
I just need to be told what to do.
Are you saying
athletes just want to be told what to do? Let's not think about stuff. Coach me.
So Howard,
I was
go
being
ahead.
coached, and it really wasn't working out for me.
So Howard, who was coaching you though? Was the person from Iowa coaching you? Mine went to Iowa. So was it the coach from Iowa?
I didn't go to Iowa. I went to Illinois, but the person told me that she was from Iowa. Continued to tell me that I wasn't very smart for like the last 20 minutes. That I wasn't very smart. And I can understand. I have some deficiencies. But, seriously, I can get on a call when I need to.
Hey, we appreciate you being on the call,
You guys
Howard.
don't understand how stressful this was. It's just been unbelievable.
Oh, we can imagine. She's our producer, so we know when she's not happy about something. So
she ain't gonna say a word now. She's just gonna lay off in the background. She'll send a bunch of emails tomorrow. She'll talk about us and tell everybody how uneducated I am because I went to Illinois, and I'm supposed to accept that. I'm gonna be good with this now. I'm good.
Really? You're going to do this right now, right? The reason you're on this right now is because this Hawkeye, walked you through this, okay?
Maya, let me tell you, there's only one reason that I'm still here right now.
Why is that?
And honestly, that's one of the first coaches I ever had in life, Mr. Irvin.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Howard.
Gave me the best advice I ever got. I shot my first free throw. We were over on 83rd. And where were we?
Ellis.
Yes.
Yep.
And I banged that thing off the backboard and I don't know where it went. And he looked at me, he was like, hey, just take a deep breath before you shot. That's all you got to do. In disgust, because he saw me bang this thing off the backboard. Because I wasn't a very good basketball player. But I hit the second shot. And trust me, because of that that piece of advice, that lasted me my entire year because I always say, just take a deep breath when the pressure's on.
I told you to do that. I said, focus.
No, sorry.
I did.
Jason, take the show over, Jason. Take the show over.
I'm done. Jason. I coached you up, Howard. You won't get it, but I coached you up. Goodbye.
I will let them fight it out in the after show. Howard, thank you so much for joining us, man. We really appreciate you coming on. There's so much we want to talk to you about here in this last kind of half hour. We will take a break here in a few minutes, but let's just get started. The Big Ten made the decision. They were pressured. I don't care what nobody say. Kevin Warren got pressured into this decision, Howard. I know you work for Big Ten, but he got pressured by them people at Ohio State, the players, society, everybody. Brother Kevin changed his mind, and now all of a sudden we got football when it wasn't going to be no football.
Really? So
yes.
You think the presidents of those 14 institutions were pressured by one institution? You really believe that? You can't. I mean, the medical evidence says, okay, they got rapid testing. Contact tracing is the biggest farce going throughout college athletics right now. Because I trust me, I got a son that went through contact tracing, and I'm telling you, it's a joke. Okay? So I can also say I wasn't with this individual, and that individual was skate through. So contact tracing is a joke. What they needed to do was get rapid testing to be able to know that everybody on the field or at the practice facility was going to test negative. And if they tested positive, there were some other steps to take. But I can see your point by saying, there was a lot of pressure from parents and players throughout the conference about trying to come out and play because of what other conferences were doing. But I truly believe ultimately it came down to the science and what the medical doctors were saying, because there's not a president or a doctor that's going to sign off on, okay, we should let these guys play just because one institution decided they were going to add the pressure to allow the Big Ten to play.
So let me ask you then about the testing and the technology, because the other argument to that is that people are saying, well, the average citizen, we can't even get a test without a doctor's note and a whole bunch of other stuff. And now here we are, we're testing professional athletes on a daily basis. We got
$75 million in the NBA bubble. $75 million on testing alone in the NBA bubble. We're going.
There you go. We got that going on. And then, now we've got these colleges, and the regular college students, let's say at, Purdue or Indiana, they're not getting tested as much as these players will. Where does that argument kind of fit into what we've got going on here?
Well, it's significant. I mean, there's a legitimate argument about who's being tested and who's not. But I think there's also, as we go through this process, people also understand that wherever the money, you just need to follow the money. And the Big Ten Conference is picking up the bill for all 14 institutions as far as this testing and daily testing is going to happen. So I think that at the end of the day, when you look at what's going on as far as college athletics, they're going to find the labs and the tests that are going to be able to allow their players to be able to test, so that at the end of the day, there's, for the Big Ten, each institution, somewhere in the neighborhood of $50+ million per institution. There's some significant gain there. So, but I understand the issue when you talk about other student athletes not necessarily being able to have those tests, but this is where we are, and this is reality. And I think in many regards, this is ultimately where college athletics is. It's a dollars and cents business, and there's a lot of money to be had. There's a lot of money earned. There's a lot of money to be lost. There were institutions in the Big Ten alone that we're talking about without football, they were going to lose $100 million. And these are institutions who sell out on a regular basis, each and every one of their home games. We're not talking about some of the other institutions who may not even get a quarter of the fans into their stadium because they may not be putting the best product on the field. So when you're having your most high-profile programs saying publicly that they're going to lose X amount of dollars, there's going to create some movement and some second looks and some second thoughts about the decisions that were being made. But I truly believe that ultimately they had to go with what the science and the data was showing them.
Gotcha. Once again, we're being joined by Howard Griffith of the Big Ten Network. We're talking about the Big Ten's decision to restart football October 24th. Howard, how does this relate? You talked about that money. Break it down for me. The schools get the money a lot off of these TV deals. Obviously the Big Ten Network, they're promoting their own schools, and that's a cash flow for the schools as well. Break down the money for me in these TV deals so that the average person can understand what you're kind of talking about here with these money deals.
Well, to be fair, I probably don't know all the ins and outs of
Sure.
TV deals, but for the Big Ten Conference, I can tell you that this is the most profitable conference when it comes to television deals. And one of the things that's significant about that is that there's even revenue sharing across the board with Big Ten conferences. One of the things that happened in the Big 12, when we talk about Texas and Oklahoma, Texas makes the lion's share of that TV deal, where in the Big Ten, everyone shares equally when it comes to the TV contracts, when it comes to the bowl contracts. Everyone is an equal partner. And that's one of the things that separates the conference, the Big Ten Conference, from some of the other conferences around the country. And I thought there were some pretty significant deals that were cut to be able to make that happen. But that's why there are a lot of dollars at stake. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why the Big Ten Conference is also picking up all the testing that these institutions are going to incur. Because the reality is this: everybody's not making still the same amount of money. You talk about the TV deals, that's one thing. But when you talk about the revenue at the gate, when you talk about some of the other things, though, there's going to be some differences between the top teams and Team 14 when you talk about revenue.
You know, Howard, just piggybacking on what you said, listening to what you're talking about, the dollars and cents that being made. From a player standpoint, would you have liked to play this year, or you think you would have opted out? Because as you talked about, science is science. And I don't think COVID is going anywhere. And you played at the highest level. So if you knew you were going to be a first or second round pick, tell me if you think you will play it, would you opt out? Because there's so many players opting out.
Yeah, there really are. And in the Big Ten Conference, there have been guys that have opted back in.
I saw that.
Think about Sean Wade, who's going to be maybe the first or second corner taken in this upcoming draft. You look at Justin Fields. He's going to be most likely top 10 pick. There's an offensive lineman, Wyatt Davis, that's on Ohio State's team. This is going to be a top 15 pick. So I think part of the thing that goes into that is where you are going to be drafted in the draft, right? And most important part to me is whether or not you have a chance to win a national championship. So what we're seeing and what we can look at is say that if you play on Ohio State, there's a great chance that there may be a little bit more pressure, or there may be a little bit more of an opportunity for you to say, I'm coming back because I want to compete for a national title and I want to compete with my brothers. You guys understand when you're out there and you're playing, I don't care how good, how terrible your team is, it doesn't matter. When you are invested into the next guy, the next person that is next to you, and you're invested and you want to go out and try to win a championship, you're going to do that. So it's hard to say. If I were representing Justin Fields, if I'm mom and dad, I'm saying, we need to reevaluate some things. We probably need to just worry about the draft. We don't know what's going to happen. But I'll tell you this, the hardest thing for a parent to do is realize that their son or daughter is not going to follow their wishes. And meaning that because they want to go compete with their best buddies. That's where they want to go. So mom and dad can give them the best advice possible, and it might make all the sense in the world, but there's nothing going to stop that young person that wants to go out and compete. You can't do it. I'm dealing with that right now. My son's at Notre Dame. He's a junior. He's playing. He's out there and competing. I don't care what we told him. He was going to go compete. And that's part of the issue from a parent standpoint when you have a 20, 21-year-old young person that wants to go out and play.
Yeah, they grown.
And then, Howard, I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm watching how all this stuff is shaking out, right? At North Carolina, when they had the outbreaks and they sent the kids home. Well, essentially, they made the football players and they made all the athletes stay there and play. So basically, to me, they're called essential workers. You think it needs to be some sort of stipend for all the student athletes that had to stay there and perform while some of their other classmates are able to go home? You just ran a roll with $50 million now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you could that institutions can say that we're not going to have in-person classes, but by the way, football team, and I'm gonna tell you who's not getting talked about right now is their basketball teams that are working out and competing on a daily basis right now, and we're not hearing anything about that because people are focused on football right now. But with basketball, and I'm just going to go down this road for a moment, basketball, most institutions are going to be shutting everything down for Thanksgiving. But I guarantee you the basketball team is not leaving campus. They'll be there. The football team is not leaving campus. They'll be there. Everybody else is leaving. So to really answer your question, which is a difficult question to answer because I work for a network, that makes our money from the Big Ten Conference and we represent them.
Right.
But the reality is they are in a position where if they want to compete and compete at the highest level, there are some things that they're having to do that other students aren't able to do. You can opt out and not play, right? And really what that means is you're going to go home and do whatever you're going to do as far as academics are concerned. You can still do that, but you're not going to have the support of the athletic department. So you can't go work out. You can't be around your teammates. There's nothing you can do there. So that's going to bring up another point when we start talking about mental health that I'm going to get to, but I'm going to answer your question. When we talk about name, image, and likeness, they should be compensated. And I think one of the areas where people get caught up in is they talk about the star quarterback or the star point guard that has an opportunity to make $400,000 or $500,000, even more from an endorsement deal, whether it's a car deal, whatever it is. But I am telling you, and I've been saying this for a couple of years now, the people that are going to be able to make money from name, image, and likeness are the people who have built their brand through high school. And to be honest, I'm going to tell you, there are a lot more female athletes who have built bigger brands than their male counterparts have. And those are the ones, to me, in non-revenue sports, who are going to have an opportunity to make money. And I'm not saying they're going to make $1 million, but I'm going to tell you this. If they can cut a deal where they're getting 10, 15% off T-shirts, off of clothing deals, off whether it's a workout apparel, whatever it may be, I'm telling you who's going to make the money. And that's the people in the non-revenue sports who have built followings that are going to continue to follow them and that they can go out and really be able to leverage. Those are happening in the non-revenue sports. And I don't care what they say about basketball and football. The numbers may be bigger, but the opportunities to me are over in non-revenue sports because I'm watching the people who have these huge followings, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram. And if you look at those values, you're going to find those values in non-revenue sports, and you're also going to find those values in our female athletes. That's where there's a lot of money to be made for them. So I agree that they should be being compensated, and they need to continue to work toward getting that. And I think they're going to have that opportunity in the coming months. Really, in January, they'll have a chance to do that. But that, to me, is really important for our young people to have an opportunity to make money because their coaches are making a gazillion dollars.
Yeah, they are. And once again, we're being joined by Howard Griffith here on the What's Up Cuz show. We're talking about the college athletics and especially what the Big Ten has done here with their decisions. And it's funny you mentioned that. I covered Skylar Diggins right after she left Notre Dame when she came into the WNBA. And Skylar had a brand. Skylar had a brand before she even stepped on the court and was making money. She signed the advertisement deal with Jay-Z's company, Rock Nation. They were supporting her. She's a attractive young lady, so she had like modeling deals. She had all sorts of stuff. Skylar got paid, well before she even stepped on the court. So I do agree with you. We're going to see that with more of the female athletes. Howard, you brought up mental health a little bit previously. Why don't you expound upon that a little bit in terms of how that is affecting these college athletes right now as we're going through this COVID pandemic?
Okay, so let's look at it this way. So you could, for most athletes, they have a roommate, right? So when they move off campus, they have a roommate. Let's say your roommate tests positive for COVID. Well, the other roommate immediately is going to, depending upon what conference you're in, be subjected to a 14-day quarantine. So that's 14 days that individual is essentially on their own, right? So what are we doing to make sure that this person is taken care of? Because they can't go eat with the team. They're not having meals necessarily brought to them. They'll tell you that, but that is not reality. That's not happening. And they're isolated. So now this individual who has been working as hard as they can to give themselves an opportunity to go out on the field and compete is not allowed to do that because to no fault of their own. And be clear, I'm not going to say that it's the fault of necessarily the roommate, because I think what coaches have said from the very beginning is if you contract COVID, you're a bad guy, you're selfish, you're not doing what you need to be doing to make sure our team is secure. But that's not the truth. That's not reality. One of these young people can go to class and happen to sit next to someone who's tested positive for COVID and doesn't know it. But we've conditioned ourselves with the person in the front of the room has told everybody in the room that if you test positive, you're selfish and you've done all the wrong things. And I think that's a bad message to send, because as now we talk about, okay, well, now you're gone from the team for 14 days. And now if you're a Big Ten player, you're gone for 21 days. So that's even more significant. So you're isolated. You've been put in a situation where, what are you supposed to do? You don't have any way of fighting back. You can't. So what do? I mean, you better believe depression is going to set in. I mean, mom and dad can only talk to you for so long during the day until you're sitting there getting tired of playing Xbox or getting tired of trying to deal with what you have to in the classroom, and it's a problem. And the reality is there's not enough money. Well, I'll take that back. There's a lot of money in these institutions, but they need to dedicate resources to make sure that the student athlete is going to be taken care of during this time. And I'm not just talking about the athlete, because it's not just about the athlete. There's the regular student that's going to be subjected to this. It's not going to have the same support that a student athlete's going to have. And he or she is sent off to a room, essentially, and saying, you stay here and be isolated. Again, they will tell you that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that your son or daughter is going to be taken care of. And I get it, and I think they believe it. But the reality is they can't do it because this pandemic is unprecedented. I don't think any of our institutions across the country were prepared for anything that was able to happen or that has happened. So to believe that all of a sudden things are going to be okay because he or she has contracted COVID is a farce. And it's up to the parents and that support system to continue to support that young person, because this isn't going to be easy and it's not going to stop. I know a young man, not at Notre Dame, but has been caught up in contact tracing twice. That's 28 days that he has to sit out from his football team because no fault of his own. 28 days. And just to put this in perspective, the person that tested positive will be back at practice before the person that continues to test negative in this situation.
Wow. And that is rough. And, I know you and Maya were having your spat earlier, but Maya is in the mental health field. And I know that's something that she has spoke about, a lot of depression cases that are coming up, not just with athletes, but around the country. And it's the isolation. It's just people can't, it's hard for people to stay in the house with their own family, for weeks and months on end. So I can only imagine what it's like going through this kind of by yourself. Let me change gears just a little bit. Because also the IHSA is definitely also reevaluating things. And they were definitely getting pressured. There was a rally here in Chicago on Saturday. There was a rally in Springfield on Saturday. A lot of parents, and I'm not going to say a lot, but there's a portion of parents and players that want the IHSA to say, no, go ahead. We want to be able to play football here. Illinois is one of only 13 states that's not doing high school football here. Myself as a sports official, again, they never consult us on this stuff, but what makes you think I want to go out there and referee your kid in a COVID pandemic? Talk a little bit about the IHSA, and specifically you playing in Chicago Public. We know they don't have nearly the resources some of these schools in suburban districts who want to play.
Man, it is, it really is tragic. And I'm not saying that what the governor and the ISHA is doing is wrong. I'm not saying that. But for me, I think of the kids, and I'm thinking of the families. And to be one of those kids that is right there on the cusp of having an opportunity to earn a scholarship, to have school paid for, and now not to be able to go out and compete, that's a hard pill to swallow. And I don't know what you tell that young person in your house about, listen, mom, dad, grandma, you asked me to do this. I stayed out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked hard in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I've done all the things that I was supposed to do to be successful. And there's no way any of those people and the guardians that I'm talking about now could have predicted that something like this would occur. And this is hard. I'm telling you, I talk to parents on a regular basis, whether they're deciding to move their kids out of state to continue to try to chase the dreams and support the dreams of their child, because that's what you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. You're sitting there and just like you told them that you do this, and this is going to happen. Now all of a sudden, as a parent, you're saying, now I got to do whatever I can do because I told, my child that if they did this, here was going to be the end result. And now they're in a situation where they can't necessarily control. They can't control it anyway. But to know that your child can't go out and compete, it has to be hard. It has to be devastating. And, I don't know what I would do in this situation. That's that true. I would look for every opportunity I could for my son or daughter to be able to go out and compete. And that's not relegated to not moving out of state, not moving them out of state, not going somewhere else to play. My youngest son played in Florida at IMG. It wasn't obviously because of the pandemic, but because there were other opportunities. But it's got to be hard. I mean, I don't know what you tell a person who may not have the resources to up and move their child to another state and know that they're going to be okay. Because there's so many things that are in play. And I understand the movement or let them play and all of these things. But just like I talked about the dollars and cents of the Big Ten playing football, the dollars and cents of high school athletics doesn't make sense either, right? Who's testing the kids?
Exactly.
Well,
there you go.
Still want them to be tested and you want them to be, in a situation where they're going to be safe. But who's going to pay for that?
Right.
You don't know.
Especially with these school districts who don't have the money. We know CPS doesn't have the money. There are CPS schools that don't have books. So, how can they, this is a very difficult situation. I know we're getting ready to wrap up our show now. I'm going to ask you now here on the show, because I know we had some technical difficulties. Is it possible that you can come back maybe next week? Because there's so much more we want to talk to you about.
I'm all in. If Maya would talk to me maybe like 3 hours before the show and tell me about how to do all of this stuff, I'd be cool. Because all I wanted to do was click on the link and smile and talk. But I realized there was a little bit more to this whole deal. But I'll do anything for you guys, man. No problem.
We're pretty cool. I mean, we got so much to talk to you about, man. Talk about your career at Julian. And, I didn't know until today my cousin contacted me. She like, you do realize Howard went to St. Joachim the same time you did. I was like, what?
St. Joachim.
I was like, what? You mean Howard got beat up by the nuns like I did?
Howard was a good student. Howard was a good student.
Issues down there. I spent some time in his office.
Yeah, buddy, without a doubt. It was like a jail cell too down there.
And then here's the other thing: they wouldn't let us bring an actual basketball or football. So we had to play sock football.
Right. Yeah,
so we wouldn't break it.
Sure did. Because we can go break the winners, man. Man, a sock make a heck of a football, Lance. You don't know about that, man.
Come on, fellas. Yes, I do. You know, I had a lot of brothers and sisters, so when we didn't have a ball,
That's true. That's true.
rolling up socks, shooting jump shots, and socks for basketball, throwing shoes and baseballs.
and then wear the same sock to go to school.
There you go.
Well, Howard, we appreciate it. We're going to have you back next week, man, because there's just so much we got to cover, and there's so much serious stuff we can talk about and fun stuff, too. So we're going to have you back next week, but we appreciate you logging on here. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Howard. Appreciate
Thanks
you.
a lot, man. And Lance, man, I truly love you, brother, man. I really appreciate everything that you and your family stand for. Continued success, man. And I know you guys are going to keep changing lives like you've changed lives already. Keep it rolling, man. The Irving family is phenomenal.
Man, Howard, I'm following you because you're doing excellent stuff for kids, too. So we're going to talk about that when you come back on the show. Man, you know I love you. Appreciate you. And tell Maya she couldn't get in Illinois. That's why she went to Iowa.
I told her she couldn't get Illinois.
That's coming up for next week, folks. You know what's up, cuz. We're going to say good night for now. We thank Howard Griffin. Thank you for my cousin Lance Irvin, for our producer Maya. This is going to be an interesting post-show conversation. We'll see y'all next week at 6 o'clock with Howard Griffin. Peace out.
Peace, Howard.